Boom, and just like that, we are up and running. So, a lot of you guys are probably gonna be wondering what happened with that leak. Let's go over here and check. We got no leak here. We got no leak there. We do have some water along here from the new nozzles that have been on here. So this tank has been up and running for, as of right now, 3 days. Full plumbing and everything running just as is overnight. And no leaks. So before we go over what we did for the week for the tank, let's go ahead and talk about what caused the leak. So after narrowing it down, it was not the sump, boom. It was not the display tank, boom. It was not any of the plumbing, well, kind of part of the plumbing issue. So after, kind of like narrowing down the suspect, the sump, the display tank, the plumbing, I sat back and thought like, what else could have caused this, right? So I didn't mention this in the previous video, but when I was messing with the plumbings for the UV sterilizer, I had to undo some of these guys to make sure some of these fit. And because of undoing some of this, there is water in that overflow compartment there, chamber. And when you undo that, water comes down. And where does it go? It goes straight down to here. And some of it does get caught in the sump, but a lot of it goes in the back of the tank there. So if you look back here, they have these metal sheets that kind of go along with the stand. And what happened was, majority of that water got launched back here and down into here where it seeped under here in the bottom there and sat there. Because this tank is like really leveled. Obviously you can't get a perfect level. The bubble was like, dead on, but like it was like slightly tilted that way where, water would flow down there. My thought was because a lot of that water just splashed back down there, and I did put a towel down there just to catch, some of that water. But the weird thing was when the water did come out, I was like, okay, well, let me just look under here in the back there and see if, there's water back there. There was no water back there that splashed instantly. So that's the other thing. I was like, oh, that's weird. I was like, where did all that water go? I was like, I guess I caught it in the napkin or, the towel that I put down there, which I did not, because all that water obviously seeped along the side and out there. Because that would make sense, because that puddle of water, it was probably a total of like 5 to 6 puddle of water. And the puddle got smaller every time I checked. Obviously the first one was big. It got smaller until like it was about this big, where it was like only a couple drops. And that's, after like, 24 hours or whatever. So luckily everything checked out. We don't have a leak in any of the system. At least the main display and the sump, the important part, right? The plumbing, if we had a leak there, I could have easily fixed it with, just tightening and whatnot. But now we know that if you guys get the system and you mess with this pump, and obviously you're gonna get water at some point, right? Whether you're tweaking this, undoing something, water is gonna eventually splash back in the back there. And you can't reach back there in a towel, right? Because it's kind of really narrow. Water is gonna go somewhere depending on how level your stand is. It might go that way, it might go this way, but it's gonna come out on one of those ends. And that's where that water is coming from. So that's just an FYI for future Waterbox owners, that is where your water is gonna be. So since we're down here in the sump, I added one light here. I'm gonna add another light here and maybe one here, or one over here and one over here. I'm thinking about it. Right now, I'm gonna kind of convert this part maybe into a refugium at some point later, once I'm done with the filter socks. This part maybe just to grow out some mushrooms, grow out some anemones. That's why I have some of these baskets that are floating in here. Extra anemones will kind of grow them in here. So I'm thinking about one light here, and then another light here for the refugium shader or something that grows in this end here. I added a temporary cover. I didn't have, I didn't buy the full one. I just reused what I had, so it's a little bit short here, and it's fine. It still holds it or whatever. This is just to kind of prevent the splashback, because you can see there's a lot of splashback coming from there because it's really strong, and it's coming and kicking up a lot of water here. So I didn't want water to accumulate down here. We have this to block this. I'll figure out what I want to do with it down the road. I put like a sponge across, or once we have a refugium going there, it'll absorb most of that water splashback. Really basic right now. I just have some rubble down here for now. While it's cycling, we did add in 2 buckets or baskets of pond matrix, and this is the matrix from the current reef tank that is established. So this is part of that cycling process. Nothing else is new down here in terms of addition. So let's go up top. So up top we added the random flow generators on both ends. Now the one thing I would have to say about this is, like, if you have it kind of above, like really, if you look here, it's pretty low, but because it's random, it like shoots water kind of like everywhere, right, in a 360 motion. And we get a lot of splashbacks. You can kind of see splashback there. So eventually, once I get a lid, it'll be fine. I can have it as high as I want. But for now, I'm gonna aim it a little bit lower to prevent the splashback, because it would be like, you know, salt everywhere. I do not have the gyres on yet, just because I was just running the pump, just making sure the system is up and running without any leaks. So far, everything is good. Eventually, I will turn on the gyres. It's not a rush right now. The escape, nothing changed. I just kept it as is. As you can see, the random flow generator blew off that side, so most likely that's going to be like that. So I might find a piece of rock and put it over there and try to bury it with sand and try to see if that rock can absorb most of that current, so that way a lot of the sand doesn't get kicked back. I put macroalgae in here just to kind of get things established, because once the tank is cycling, I guess, in the cycling process, we're going to have a bunch of leftover nitrates, and you know, the plants will love it. So I think it's going to be good. Just kind of have it in here for, you know, the time being, let it grow a little bit. And once the tangs and the fish goes in here, they'll munch this all down, which is fine. And I might end up maybe putting a fence, some sort of like protection in the back, and let the macroalgae kind of grow all the way up top, and like take it off, let them eat it, and like grow it in another area kind of thing, and kind of just alternate. Maybe that can be kind of like their little food source, and plus it can absorb some of the dirt and whatnot down here, and it'll be, I guess, good for the display tank too. I don't know, we'll see how that will turn out. But we have 2 lights on here now. These lights were in the 54-gallon tank. I just transferred them over here just because there's nothing growing on the other tank. That way we can kind of get some light, we get some life in here. Other than adding some macroalgae and just messing with the tank. So I did add in Dr. Tim's ammonia to kind of jumpstart the fishless cycle. And then also added in Fritz turbo to kind of jumpstart, again, the bacterial growth in the tank. The very first day I added Dr. Tim's ammonia, I used like 3/4 of the bottle because that's what it called for. The ammonia spiked up to like the max or whatever. And then today, let me check real quick. All right, and here is today's ammonia check. Still high, very, very high, but not as high as yesterday. Yesterday's color wasn't even on this spectrum. It was like way down here somewhere. So, you know, it's gonna take a while. I would say like it's probably gonna take at least 2 weeks, to be honest, even with all the beneficial bacteria in the tank. So yeah, I wanted to address some of the comments that were coming on in the video, just because a lot of people were curious in terms of what was going on. So first thing with the back siphon, this was like a couple of videos ago. Yes, eventually I will raise the return nozzles a little bit higher than, you know, where it is, or basically the air will break the siphon. But even if I have it, you know, above wherever it is, if you look down here, the actual overflow is 1 inch below here. So no matter what I do with the nozzles, I'm going to still have to absorb 1 inch of this water here, 1 inch of this water across. You know, 1 inch is not a lot, right? But 1 inch across like 125 gallons is a lot, because it's going to go directly into the sump. Even if I had a check valve or whatnot in here, right? You're going to lose 1 inch of water no matter what. So with the nozzles, it doesn't really matter if I moved it up or down, right? It's just, I still have to be able to absorb that 1 inch of water, and that 1 inch of water gets you to about here. The other thing I did differently to try to absorb a little bit more water was I removed the baffle that sat here that had a chamber that was for the refugium. That seemed to have saved me maybe like 1/4 inch of this water line here. I guess it's better than none, so that way, you know, we can absorb some of that water. But yeah, I'm just glad that, you know, we don't have any leaks with the tank or the sump. They do, like I said, do a quality check on the tanks, and that's why, like for me, I was like, oh man, there's a leak in the sump. Like, yes, you know, it's possible just because of all the shipment, you know, the tank and whatnot being moved around and getting hit everywhere. But they do a quality check on the tank and the sump, where they put water in here, hold it for like a week, 2 weeks, and then drain it and then ship it out to you guys. So Definitely good to know there. So back here, it's a little bit messy, but the UV sterilizer is looking good. No leaks still. It's running. I haven't turned it on because there's no point in turning it on right now because we're just cycling and I don't want to kill the beneficial bacteria. The wires here, it's going to look a little messy for now until I get that 2 cabinets back here and kind of mount all of these things onto there. But that will be a later priority. But yeah, for now, it's just a waiting game. We're just going to monitor the tank. I haven't filled up the auto top off reservoir tank yet, but eventually I will. I don't have an extra pump to actually pump it into here, so I'm gonna have to manually put it until I can take one of the other pumps that's running from the other tanks and display and put it in here. That won't happen until we start transferring fish and stuff into the system. But yeah, we're just gonna take it nice and slow, make sure it cycles. Once it cycles, we're going to add in slowly. Oh, I forgot, I also added in pods into this tank. So in the last video, I added in the algae barn pods. I added some, the rest of that pod into here. I'm feeding this tank, so the pods are hopefully growing and multiplying in here, as well as adding some of the pods in the current system. As I pick them up and see them, I just kind of drop them into this tank and let it get seeded. Tank's gonna be cycling. It's probably gonna take 2 more weeks, so we probably won't see an update for a while until we start putting livestock and whatnot into the tank. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The one good thing is that came out of this is like we don't have a leak. There is no leak. We're good. We're good to row. All right, guys. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. Like always, next time, guys. Peace.